Please subscribe my YouTube channel, Global Reality Network.
In the heart of the Ottoman Empire, behind the shimmering walls of gold and marble, a silent tragedy unfolded. It was a story hidden from the world, a suffering so profound that for many Ottoman princesses, it was a fate worse than death. This story begins in Istanbul, the center of unparalleled power, where the skyline glittered with domes and from the grand Topkapi palace overlooking the Bosphorus, sultans ruled a vast empire stretching from Europe to Asia. Their word was law, their power absolute, and to protect this power, their bloodline had to remain pure, controlled, and unquestionable. Ottoman princesses were born into a world of unimaginable luxury. They were draped in the finest silks and adorned with sparkling jewels, living in opulent rooms filled with sunlight and priceless art. But this gilded cage was still a cage. From the moment they drew their first breath, their lives were not their own. They were pawns in the intricate game of power, their futures decided long before they could even speak. The empire's greatest fear, the one thing that haunted the halls of power, was a threat to the throne. A single misguided marriage could create a rival claim. A single unexpected child could ignite a devastating civil war. And so, the palace chose absolute control over love, and suffocating silence over freedom. The princesses were confined within the imperial harem. Forget the romanticized images of a pleasure garden. The reality was a fortress of strict rules and constant surveillance. Guards shadowed their every move. Intricately carved wooden screens, known as masarabiya, covered the windows, allowing them to see out but preventing anyone from seeing in. Doors were locked. The vibrant, bustling world outside the palace walls became a distant, unattainable dream. Time within the harem stretched and warped, moving at a glacial pace. Days bled into weeks, weeks into years, and years into decades. The changing seasons were just rumors carried on the breeze, unseen and unfelt. Many princesses would live their entire lives without ever setting foot outside the palace grounds. Their days were structured and monotonous. They learned music, poetry, and calligraphy. They prayed 5 times a day, and they waited. Most of all, they waited, often for nothing. For a princess, marriage was a rare and perilous event, and it was never, ever, for love. They were strategically married off to loyal statesmen, viziers, and peeches, chosen by the sultan himself. These marriages came with a cruel and unbendable condition. The husband was forbidden from having children with the princess. This ironclad rule was designed to prevent the emergence of any rival bloodline that could challenge the sultan as heirs. If a princess's husband became too powerful or fell out of favor, he was swiftly dealt with. Some were exiled to distant provinces. Others were simply executed. The princess, now a widow sometimes, while still a teenager, was then sent back to the harem. She could never remarry. She was destined to live out the rest of her days alone. So many princesses spent the majority of their lives in this state of profound solitude. They were surrounded by an army of servants and eunuchs, yet they were deeply, achingly isolated. They were respected, even feared, because of their royal blood. But they were never, ever free. Many princesses never married at all. They were left to wither away inside the harem, their youth and beauty fading in silence. They watched as new generations of young girls arrived, full of life, and saw older women disappear into the quiet corners of the palace, forgotten. The harem was a universe of whispers, where secrets and rumors traveled faster than light. A misplaced glance, a careless word, a minor missed penny of these could result in harsh punishment. But the greatest fear wasn't punishment or even death. It was the terror of being forgotten, of being completely erased from history. And for many, this fear became a reality. Countless princesses were scrubbed from the official records. Their names now exist only in dusty, neglected archives. There are no portraits, no personal stories, no marked graves for the public to remember them by. They held immense power in name only. They possessed vast wealth, but had no control over it. They were living symbols, not living people. Their sole purpose was to serve as a shield for the throne, even if it meant their own destruction. Religion and tradition were wielded as tools to justify this brutal system. They were constantly told about honor, about their sacred duty to the dynasty. Their sacrifice was framed as a noble act, essential for the stability of the empire. A princess was taught that her silent suffering kept the peace, that her loneliness protected the realm. But silence always has a price. The unrelenting loneliness carved deep, invisible wounds. Many princesses suffered from severe mental anguish. Some lost all hope. Others slowly lost their minds, their identities dissolving within the suffocating stillness. From behind their veiled windows, they would watch the ships sail on the Bosphorus. They would hear the faint sounds of music and laughter from the city streets. They could smell the salt of the sea, but could never feel its spray on their skin. Freedom was always right there, just beyond their grasp, a constant, painful reminder of everything they couldn't have. As the centuries passed and the empire began its slow decline, little changed for these captive women. Wars were won and lost. Sultans rose to power and were deposed, but the harem remained a prison of tradition, its walls as unyielding as ever. History often celebrates the Ottoman Empire for its military might, its breathtaking architecture, its contributions to art and law. But behind this dazzling facade of greatness, countless lives were quietly and systematically broken. These women were not weak. To endure what they endured required a strength few of us can comprehend. They survived in absolute stillness. They existed without choice. They were capable of love, but were never loved in return. For them, a quick death might have been a mercy, an end to their pain. But life condemned them to carry that pain every single day. For decades, their voices were silenced. Their tears went unrecorded, yet their silent suffering was woven into the very fabric of the empire. Behind every great throne, there is a shadow. Behind every magnificent crown, there is a cost. And for the princesses of the Ottoman Empire, that cost was a life lived without ever truly being alive. They did not die young, but in the most tragic sense, they were never allowed to live at all. Thank you for watching. If you found this story moving, please like, subscribe, and follow for more hidden histories.